As a single man who doesn't want children, who doesn't want a wife, a sex robot would be perfect. Imagine you save up all your money, you buy this AI sex bot, and it still turns you.
First of all, first of all, something that's always been crazy to me about this is like, all right, what's up, guys? It's your boy. I'm back. So today we're gonna be reacting to "Young Men Are Lonelier Than Ever. It's Getting Worse" by Real Men, Real Style. Now, this is really interesting to me because as an 18-year-old myself, I've been obviously I know a lot of people who are struggling with this, and I understand it. I can't really say that I'm affected by it myself because I'm more of a loner type by myself. I just enjoy alone most of the people can't bother me, you know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to look at this video and see, what we talking about, see if I can give any of my input, maybe anything that could help y'all say. So who knows? Let's see.
A movie that I absolutely love, Ex Machina, which, believe it or not, came out a decade ago in 2014. In any case, not only does it feature robots tearing up the dance floor with. So have you guys seen this Joe Rogan interview where he talks to a sex neuroscientist? He's talking with her about the scary yet very real future of sex robots. In the interview, they talk about a movie that I absolutely love, Ex Machina, which, believe it or not, came out a decade ago in 2014. In any case, not only does it feature robots tearing up the dance floor with X-Wing rebel fighter pilot, but at the end of that movie, you may be asking yourself, would I have turned to the dark side for Alicia Vikander? But getting back to that Joe Rogan interview, yeah, it was scary, but the comments were even scarier. As a single man who doesn't want children, who doesn't want a wife, a sex robot would be perfect. Imagine you save up all your money, you buy this AI sex bot, and it still turns you.
First of all, first of all, something that's always been crazy to me about this is what's crazy about this is like a machine, like a metal plasticky robot will never be like able to get a human's conscience. And it's always crazy to me when I see people saying stuff like this because it's like get, get some hoes, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. Just get some hoes. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's like how much, like, I don't know anyone with so little game that they need to resort to a robot. Like, 'cause I see a lot of dudes talking about male loneliness or whatever, right? And what always rubs me the wrong way is like, are you taking the steps in order to not be what you're complaining about? Because a lot of people that complain about male loneliness that I've seen personally stay in their house, are scared to talk to women, don't try to make new friends, and it's like, what are you expecting to get from that? You know what I'm saying? It's just crazy. But let's continue.
You down. And perhaps my favorite, any man who's been dragged by their significant other to a store on their day off, argued about a duvet cover that they don't even care about, and dealt with the silence and cold shoulder on the ride home, will find the evolution of a sex bot appealing. Now, gents, I'm not here to judge. If you like the idea of a fembot, hey, more power to you. But the bigger problem here is the health issue that can't be denied. What am I talking about? The fact that men, especially younger men, are lonelier than ever. Seriously, they've measured this. Apparently, UCLA has this whole loneliness scale, and over 60% of Americans are registering as lonely. And let's break that up, because that included both men and women. Now, this won't surprise any of us guys here, but when it comes to measurements of loneliness, men in general are 25% more likely to identify as lonely. And to be clear, I'm not denying that women don't get lonely, but men get lonely more often and have less avenues to.
And I do believe that a big reason for this is because of, the perception of weakness. You know what I'm saying? Like, how many times are you gonna is a guy just gonna come out and be like, oh, I feel like this or I feel like that? I feel like it's definitely societally judged to, confess feelings of weakness or of belittlement or something similar to that. You know what I'm saying? Any feelings of negativity at all is kind of perceived as weakness, which in my opinion it's at a certain point that it's okay. You know what I'm saying? You don't want someone that's crying over spilled milk, literally. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I feel like there should be spaces for dudes to come out and say that aren't getting judged. But at the same time, I feel like if you're not taking the adequate steps to remove yourself from this bubble that you feel yourself trapped in, then you're the only one you can blame. You know what I'm saying?
Deal with it. In general, younger men are more likely to be lonely than older men, so we see millennials and Gen Z being in the danger zone quite a bit. And on top of that, heavy social media users and those that work from home, especially
Social
when you
media,
work
man.
from home more than what you want, all these factors seem to correlate with somebody feeling loneliness. So all this begs the question, why are we lonely? What's changed in the last 25 years that has created this loneliness epidemic? And what are the solutions, especially the one that no one is talking about? Well, before I get into that, gents, I want to introduce you to today's sponsor, BetterHelp. Now, gents,
Hey, don't be sponsored. I'm gonna lie, I'm skipping that. Hey, don't be sponsored.
so to start things off, let's address the elephant in the room, the base question. Why are men so lonely? Has it always been this way? I would argue there definitely are some old school reasons. By that, I mean, if you go back 1,000 years, I think that there were still societal norms as they are nowadays, that it's difficult for a man to express his feelings. I mean, we've come a long way, guys, but there are still expectations that to be a manly man, you got to keep everything inside. Now,
And yeah, that goes back to what I was saying earlier, because it's not seen as very masculine to be open about your feelings, and even I mean, that's just the way it is. For better or worse, I mean, obviously, dudes have been the protectors, you know what I'm saying? Have been the ones, if you're out in an environment where you need to hunt and everything like that, you can't really be up on your feelings. But I mean, we've evolved far past that in this point. So, where you're not going to see me complaining about a lot of stuff, I feel like a lot of people really stuff off their chest. And I feel like that also plays into the suicide rate of men, how much higher it is compared to women because of stuff like this. So let's see what he has to say, right? If he goes into that at all.
definitely think in certain circles, in certain environments, a man can be somewhat vulnerable. But if you're that guy that's always crying, there are going to be plenty of situations, even in today's modern world, in which you're going to be rejected and you are going to be
Yep.
ridiculed. So does this mean that men have always been lonelier? Well, not exactly. You see, there used to be men's clubs. And I'm not talking about strip joints. No, I'm talking about organizations, informal and formal, that supported fraternal and brotherly relationships between other men. Now, many of these organizations still exist. Some of them have a bad name, other ones have a great name. But in general, a lot of these clubs have disappeared and many fell out of favor with societal norms. On top of that, the disappearance and effect of religion. Now, some of you guys are thinking, yeah, organized religion, there's nothing good that comes out of it. As a guy growing up Catholic, nobody can deny the negative. But what you can't ignore is the feeling of community in a healthy church, in a healthy congregation, whenever you're a part of it. And with now coming in on 57% of Americans never or very rarely ever going to church, the positive effects of religion and community are definitely on the downturn. Another trend, this one modern, that we're seeing is making people more and more lonely, is that they are living alone. I know for a lot of my Indian and Pakistani friends, when they come here to the United States, they are shocked at how all of these young people are outside of the family unit. There isn't the whole generational thing where you've got your grandparents living with their grandkids. No, you've got, people at 18 getting kicked out of the house.
Exactly. And I feel like a reason that that's so important is because, or it's important to, stay with your people, especially because as you can see, I don't have my own house. You know what I'm saying? I have my own house. I'm still living with my parents, and I feel like it's important for a lot of people to be able to do that. Now, I will say, if you are not bettering yourself or providing anything, any terms of use for yourself, right? If you're just being a lazy slob and your parents are like, okay, you gotta get out, that's all on you. I'm not gonna lie, but if you're actually bettering yourself, I do feel like parents should. I feel like you should stay with your parents. If you're able to, I feel like you should stay with your parents for as long as you can and just get as much money as you can. Now, me personally, I'm planning on moving out not too long now. I'm not gonna lie, but it's definitely, it takes a lot of stress off your shoulders. Just having somewhere to stay. Somewhere that somewhere that you're comfortable with. So, but yeah, and I think I've seen a lot is I see a lot more dudes leaving than women, and I feel like that also plays back in the aspect of what he's talking about. He's probably going to talk about that, but a lot of, like, let's say the girls that I know or have talked to, they're pretty much all with their parents, and a lot of dudes I know by themselves. So I feel that plays into it. Let's see.
I get it. Living on your own, you want the freedom, but you
Mhm.
also lose a lot when it comes to the connections that you took for granted in your family. The exception to this, if you're in a toxic family unit, then getting out is a great thing.
100%.
Now, all those things have definitely increased loneliness, but in the last 25 years, it has accelerated to a level never seen before because of technology and the advent of the internet. So, first up, the internet. What it brought to the forefront was the economic principle of the winner takes all. So if you're not familiar with how the winner takes all in economics, imagine you are a guitar player. You're
Okay.
pretty good. In fact, you're the best in your village.
Okay.
Maybe there's a guy 3 villages away that plays a little bit better, but for everyone in your town, you're great. You're awesome. Well, the
Big
issue
fish
with
in
the
a small
internet
pond?
is all of a sudden it introduced everyone in your village to this amazing guitar player out in southern Tennessee. And this guy's 1,000 miles away. And then it gets even worse. Some Italian dude on the other side of the world all of a sudden is grabbing their attention. And all of a sudden, your local audience, their expectations have shot up here. And their value, their thoughts of you and your ability, all of a sudden that has dropped. So, what does that have to do with loneliness? Because it's had that same effect in the dating world. 25 years ago, a guy that was on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe a 6, he could reasonably pick up another 6, maybe even a 7, sometimes even an 8 if he dressed well and got everything lined up. 200 years ago, people would usually marry somebody within 15 miles of where they lived. 50 years ago, that number had gone up, but still people were usually dating in smaller pools, and you would find that if someone's an 8, they would hook up with another 8. If you were a 2, then you would hook up with another 2. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of how that measurement works, but what I want to point out is a full-on population, let's say we have 10 on one side and 10 on the other, usually you would get about 8 to 9 pretty good matches. The problem now with the winner-take-all in dating is that all the women are shooting for the Giga Chad. You know what I'm talking about. This guy
Okay,
has...
so this is a common take I see online. So, a lot of people are saying that, women's egos have risen a lot and they're above, and they're trying to go above what they're punching at. But honestly, in person, I don't see this a lot. I'm not gonna lie, I don't see this a lot. I see a lot of matching. I see a lot of, sure, they might think they want someone like that, but I mean, everyone knows where they are in the hierarchy, right? So when you hear people being like, oh, women nowadays, a 4 is acting like a 10, or a 4 wants 6 figure, what I'm saying, 6 foot. So it's just like, I don't really see that person in my life. No, again, I'm only 18, but I see people older than me. I know people older than me. I know people younger than me. Obviously, you don't really see this. I mean, I don't know. I've interacted with plenty of different women. I understand the sentiment. They might even say that out loud, but at the end of the day, they're really not gonna end up with these people. Then at most they're getting, one night stand, something like that. That's just what I've seen.
Everything. He's making 7 figures. He's got a 7-inch. He's 7 feet tall and he's got 7-pack abs. And not only did technology ruin dating, let's look at our home work-life balance. The reality is most of us are telecommuting. We're working from home. We actually never seem to stop. It's 11 o'clock at night. Who am I kidding? It's 2 o'clock in the morning and you are still checking work emails. You're constantly distracted by updates, notification, tons of information coming in. You're working 60, 70 hours a week, but it doesn't feel like that because you don't feel like you're getting everything done. Now, 30 years ago, you were isolated in a cubicle, but you could at least get up and go to the water cooler and shoot the shit with people. Nowadays, you're isolated in your own home and occasionally, yeah, you get to see people on Zoom, but yeah, it's not the same. And don't even get me started with how our entertainment is making us more lonely. Probably like most of you guys, I think the red pill community has some great points. But let's face it, they're going after clicks, and that's why they are taking men and women and they're dividing us. I mean, seriously, it's like Jerry Springer all over again on a lot of these shows. In case you don't know your history, Jerry...
That right there, I feel like that also plays a lot of red pill content, a lot of male self-help content. It really focuses on dividing men and women, treating them as two separate things. Now, obviously, men and women are not the same thing, but you can't really divide them, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna say it like this, right? A lot of red pill content paints women out as evil. Uh, y'all know Myron Gaines, no, avid woman hater. Hates women. Women are this, women are that. Dudes need to do this to get them, or whatever they say, right? The core point of a lot of content is that women are bad, you need to level yourself up as much as possible. But it's like they kind of paint it to a point where it's like incel behavior. You know what I'm saying? Because why? Like going by their logic, right? If they're so evil and they only want you for your money, why would you want to level yourself up to get them? So it's just like it paints a picture in dude's head like, oh, no matter what I do, these women, they're just so evil. They're all out to get me. Why would I want any women? I'll just, you know, and then these are already dudes that have no game, obviously, because if they had game, they wouldn't be watching this. They get no women, so that when they see stuff like this, they're like, it, there's no hope. There's literally no hope. There's no help. So they just give up. They turn into incels, and then they want to say they're lonely. So, and I'm not saying that's all dudes who claim to be lonely. I'm just saying that specific portion of people, but it just kind of rubs me the wrong way. It really does.
Jerry Springer and Geraldo. These guys would bring on KKK members, Nazis, and Black Panthers all onto the same show and then be surprised when a fight broke out. I mean, seriously, what are people thinking on these shows? It's a dumpster fire, and we like to watch.
Of course.
So, how to become less lonely. And what's a solution I have that nobody seems to be talking about? Well, first up, let's talk about the proven common solutions. I know that doesn't sound exciting, but here's the deal, gents. Get out of your own way and stop thinking that you need to find some secret solution that nobody has talked about, because it really isn't that complex. First up, realize and accept that loneliness is an issue. For some of us manly men that still wash our hands with gasoline, this
Okay, so by the way, at the end of this video, I'm gonna give you my tips to what I feel like are the best ways to reduce loneliness or whatnot.
is tough. I mean, seriously, I grew up watching the movie Lone Wolf McQuade. I wanted to be a lone wolf. But the reality is loneliness isn't good for you. In fact, the negative health impacts of being lonely are very similar to those of obesity, smoking, physical inactivity, and air pollution. Consistently being lonely increases the likelihood of depression, anxiety, and dementia. Next up, can you leverage technology in a positive fashion? I find for me, cleaning up my phone is like taking a shower. I've got to do it.
Notice an important thing he's saying is loneliness, not isolation. So you can be lonely without being isolated, which is a lot of thing that which is a thing that a lot of people cannot comprehend. But there's some people that are out in crowds, maybe even partying every day, that are still lonely. Right? So it's just about dopamine response and stuff like that. But I'm gonna get into that later.
Like once a month, somehow notifications slip in. I go through, I turn them all off. I even turn off my phone once I get home. Nowadays, there is no computer at home, although occasionally one does sneak back there. But I constantly am reminding myself, again, it's like a shower. I'm like, okay, let's do an audit. Am I spending too much time on my phone? I monitor my screen time. In fact, I do this exercise with my kids, but I'm kind of doing it with myself. I ask everyone to look at their screen time. I have to show mine as well. And we talk about what are our goals, what are our ambitions, and is the time, because you can see which apps you were spending time on. Is this aligned with going after your goals? And I find that doing this with a group, with a bunch of younger people, all of a sudden I've got to ask myself, yeah, I can do a better job. Remember, your phone, your laptop, your technology is there to serve you. In fact, I'm going to double down on this point by asking you, could you take a technology fast at least once a week? If you're not familiar with fasting, that is restraining from something.
Okay,
I know a lot of
one thing I see with this a lot, I feel like this doesn't work. And the reason I feel like this doesn't work is because, let's say you take a day off of technology. The whole point is, the whole mindset behind it is that if you're taking a day off of technology, then it's immediately gonna, make you less wanting the technology. It's not about taking away the thing itself, right? Because you're just gonna replace it with something else that you don't need to do, right? Let's say you're on technology 24/7 and you're just watching YouTube videos that you don't need to be watching, productive, right? If you take away that, do you think that's automatically gonna make you productive? No, that's not gonna make you. You're gonna replace it with something else that you don't need to be doing, like watching movies, eating food. And he says technology, so if it's technology as a whole, you might even replace it with even worse habits like addiction, stuff like that. So the difference between a productive person, non-productive person, is the amount of time that they spend on things like technology. So did I say that wrong? No, no, no. I said that wrong. It's not the difference between a productive person and a non-productive person isn't the amount of time they spend on technology, it's what they're doing on the technology itself, right? Technology isn't the bad guy. You're the one that's messing yourself up, right? Because technology obviously you can be used for work. Obviously, I'm making a YouTube video right now. Be used for so many creative, productive things, right? It's just what you're doing on it. So the base of what you need to do is you need to it's the triggers, right? Triggers. What triggers you into wanting to do, and what do you want to get out of it? And once you establish those two things, that's when you can really be a more productive stuff, right? So I'm gonna give you a scenario right now. Let's say I'm getting home from school. So I'm getting home from work, actually. Let's say I'm getting home from work and go eat, watch a YouTube video, right? Well, why do I want to watch a YouTube video while I eat? That's what you need to establish. So let's say I want to watch this YouTube video while I eat so I'm not bored. Okay. If you don't want to be bored, why not read a book on something that you're doing, right? Let's say at work, you work with cars, right? Why not read a book about cars or something that can help further that, right? Or just stuff like that will help you get to the further point. Don't completely try to replace the thing that's taking up the time, but make it into something positive, right? Let's say you're reading fiction books, make them into something nonfiction or something that you're researching, right? Let's say you're neglecting schoolwork and instead you're watching YouTube videos. Okay, how about you split your time up into doing work and YouTube video? Don't have a YouTube video playing in the background at the same time. It doesn't work. Or it's not as efficient, right? So work 5 minutes, YouTube video 10 minutes, even, right? Even if you're just lowering it down from just watching a YouTube video for 5 hours straight, right? So it's all about nothing in this world is bad per se. It's the amount of it that you're doing that's bad. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, I'm not talking about things like murder, but it comes down to everything, right? Drinking itself isn't bad, but the amount of drinking that you do can make you an alcoholic. You know what I'm saying? So, someone that drinks once every month isn't the same as just someone who drinks an hour. Stuff like that. That's just what.
Religions, they will fast at various times throughout the year. But are you capable? I mean, because you can do a lot of things, right? Could you turn off your phone, to not touch any electronics for 24 hours? I bring this up because a friend of mine, Adam, he's Jewish, and I invited him to a mastermind, and he pointed out, nah, man, you've got it right in the time in which I'm with my family. That's when we celebrate our Sabbath, and there's no electronics during that time period. Now, this got me thinking as a dad that wanted his kids more. I'm like thinking, wow, that's really awesome to have a time period. You know what? You don't need to be religious. I'm
And
not.
something I could say about kids, even though I don't have kids, obviously I was raised in a technology era. I feel like an important part of having kids, right? So what I've seen a lot with nephews, nieces, cousins, very small children is when their parents don't really play with them or interact with them that much, they just throw an iPad at them. And why this is bad is it automatically fries their dopamine receptors immediately, just off rip, right? How are they gonna go through life when they were younger? Every 2 seconds, they were throwing an iPad in their face and they watched, some 60-second reels, right? We've already seen the studies about how attention span is going down. We've already seen the studies about how the gray matter in your brain or whatever. So it shouldn't even get to the point where you need to have your children take an entire day off of electronics. Just have it as a rule system. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you did your homework? Cool, you can be on it for an hour, for an hour 30, Never give them unrestricted access to it, especially in this age. When I was really young, though, you really couldn't really do much except play a couple games on the phone. It wasn't like nowadays where people are literally making content to have the most amount of interaction in the shortest amount of time, right? It's not to keep your mind hooked, to keep your mind lit up for that specific amount of time. So when it comes to stuff like this, you really got to be off.
Encouraging you to, convert or join a religion. My point, can you make it a ritual? Can you make it a habit so that once a week you are taking a break, that you're logging off? Now, this next one's obvious, but really hard,
And
especially.
it's weird. I really don't know how I feel about that. Taking break off of technology once a week. I mean, that's cool. If you're really addicted to technology, I guess I really don't see the point. That's just me. I really don't see the point. I mean, if I'm on technology, I'm on technology a lot. Obviously, that's where all my schoolwork is and everything. Technology isn't the bad guy. It's your habits.
For younger people, and that
That's
is
what
to
I feel
get
like.
out and around people. I was talking with my son about this. He's a freshman at the University of Wisconsin Madison, and he agreed that a lot of younger people, they just don't want to put themselves out there. They are scared of rejection. Now, as an introvert and a latchkey kid, I can somewhat relate. I remember just
Okay,
growing.
so this is another good point. He's about to get into it, but I want to give my opinion on it. Fear of rejection, I see it a lot. It's very high, especially in people my age. I don't know why, but if you're not putting yourself out there, what are you gonna get back, right? If and, like it goes back to Newton's law. An object in motion stays in motion, and an object at rest stays at rest until acted upon by something else, right? If you're putting yourself in a scenario where you're isolated, right? You're just here by yourself and you're not making an effort to move, you're going to stay in that restful position. You're going to stay in these depressive states because you're not doing anything to further yourself. You're not doing anything to try and expand. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's the most important at the end of the day, that you're always trying to get better. Like if you're just saying, I'm so lonely, I'm so depressed, I don't want to do anything about it, no one can help you. Only you can help yourself, right? People can, inch you forward, but if you're resisting, that's on you at the end of the day.
Up and how difficult it was to be in and around other people. I always thought people were judging me. I always thought I was going to get rejected. I was a skinny kid. I mean, I used alcohol as a crutch throughout my first few years in college, pretty much throughout my entire career in undergrad, to be able to be around the ladies, to be able to talk to and be who I thought a fun person. And gents, let me be clear, I'm not advocating alcohol, but I am saying, can you actually set something up? Can you create a system so that it's going to force you to show up, to get out there? Can you prepay to take a class, to be in and around people? And I say pay, put money down there, because guess what? When you have put a little bit of skin in the game, you are less likely to flake or back out. This could be a dance class. This could be a jujitsu class. It doesn't have to
Honestly,
be.
yeah, but I agree with that to an extent because if you're automatically signing yourself up for something, if you really don't want to go, I mean, putting some money into it isn't going to sense. So it just really depends. It really depends. It's just about shifting your mentality, honestly. Doing one good thing every day is going to be the best thing you can do rather than just doing one good thing a week, right? If you can, let's say you're in bed all day, right? You're really depressed, you're in bed all day. If you can just get out of bed, go for a walk, 10 minutes every day. Up the time limit. 10 minutes this day, maybe a couple days later 15 minutes, just acclimating your body to change, right? Cuz your body human human bodies do not want to change. We're very habitual creatures, right? So if we're putting ourselves in the situation where what's it called? If we're putting ourselves in a situation to where we're not trying to change ourselves, our body isn't going to do the changing for us, right? We control our bodies and we are the only ones who can. I'm trying to think of an example. I can't really think of any because I don't really have any. I kind of broke all my habits, all my bad habits. All it really takes is you being cognizant of your actions 24/7. You have to think about everything you're doing. You can't live on autopilot if you're trying to break habits. You have to be thinking every second of every day because your autopilot right now, your autopilot is going to be negative. It's going to be stuck in that habit. You want to be thinking about, okay, who do I want to be? Right? And if I'm already that person, what would I be doing right now? You know what I'm saying? If I'm already this amazing, rich, successful person, what would I be doing right now? I'm not going to be laying in bed all the time. No, I'm going to be working. I'm going to be improving myself even further. So it's all about living at the end, right? And living at the end, I hear this thrown around a lot. It's not acting as if you already have everything. It's putting yourself in the shoes of if you had everything, how would you be acting? You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
With a big group. This could be with one other person. But you putting yourself out there and getting around people, that is a huge step. And building right off that, group exercise. That one's really easy to find. And here's the thing I love about group
Okay,
exercise.
here's the thing. He's about to get into it, what he likes about it. I'm just gonna say what I don't like about it. If you can't do things by yourself and you need other people to do it, I feel like that's not a good thing at all, because once you're dark in the darkest hour, no one else is gonna have your back. You're the only one who's gonna have you at the end of the day, right? Everyone else can leave. Everyone else can, people can die. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, the only person who can change things right now and for the rest of your life is you. You're the only person.
You're also hitting the point of moving your body, getting the blood going, and you
See?
feel good. You have the endorphins going through the body. You're
Amazing.
around a group of
I agree
people.
with that.
People naturally talk, especially if you show up, the instructor thanks you, says your name. All of a sudden, you're recognized. You start
But
spotting.
yeah, as a
You're out
start, as a
shopping. You
start,
run.
let me clarify. As a start, this is good. As a start, any type of movement, good. You know what I'm saying? But you shouldn't get to the point where you need other people to do.
Into somebody who you've seen 50 times in the gym. They say hello, they acknowledge you. That's how relationships, that's how you build connection. Even if you say nothing, you feel less lonely because you realize how small of a town this is. Yeah, it's New York City, but still you're running in, because you're in a borough and you're in an area and you realize, I keep seeing the same people. This is pretty cool. Going to a coffee shop. Again, you're putting a little bit of money, maybe get a gift card, buy it for $100 for yourself so that you will show up there and use it, because otherwise you're going to feel stupid. But you keep going to the same place. You recognize people. Yes, they're captive people that can't escape, and don't be hitting on the poor girl, but you at least are getting recognized. They're starting to acknowledge you, and this can help with loneliness. All right, Jen, so now I want to share with you the solution I think that a lot of people aren't talking about
Okay,
and
see.
is solid and will work with everything I just talked about. Now, the solution I'm going to be talking about comes out of behavioral science. And when we look at behavior change, most of us, we start from the outside. We want to change the outcome, then look how we can adjust the process, and maybe we'll get to the identity.
All right, let me really observe this picture, because so he's saying we start at the outcome and then we go in. The layers of behavioral change we want to. So the closer to the center, so the outcome is the easiest to change. Then the process is harder to change. I agree with that. Yeah, yeah, that's
To the
facts.
identity. What I would encourage you to do if you want to be less lonely, I would first look at how do you identify yourself, then look at the processes, and
And
finally
this gets to the point I was making earlier, right? What's really important about the way you view yourself, right? If you need to view yourself as a person who's already achieved everything he's wanted, who's already at the end. You need to live in that point, because once you're already living in that point, everything else just clicks into place, right? If I'm this person right now, what would I be doing? That changes the process and that changes the outcome. Now, what I hear a lot of people talking about manifestation, you can manifest all you want. If you're not putting actual tangible effort into things, nothing's gonna happen. Nothing's gonna happen at all. So I'm gonna say this right now. I'm in this moment living as what I would be doing. I've already achieved everything I want to achieve. So processes from that, my process has changed, acting a certain way into acting the way out. I'm always thinking about change. I'm always thinking about improvement. That's what I would be doing at the end, because no matter how good you get, you always want to get better. You always want to keep improving. No matter why that's so.
the outcomes that you want will naturally occur over time. So, what do I mean by this? Stop
Oh,
identifying yourself.
and another thing that's really important, you have to stop. God, I just lost it. I just lost. Oh, you have to be unaffected by the outcome, right? You have to be unaffected by it. You have to be unattached. You have to be disassociated from it. Because if you're putting effort into something and you fail, you can't let that failure get to you. You have to be unaffected whether you succeed or fail. No matter what, you have to keep improving. That's the most important thing. I see a lot of people who continuously are going at something, and then they fail one time, and it takes them so long to recover that they're halfway back down to where they started, right? So if you're right here, right, you're improving, and you fail, you need to stay here and keep going, right? Because the further you go and you fail, the further you go, you fail, and then eventually you'll succeed. At some point, you'll succeed, no matter what. You'll see with this channel right now. I already know I'm gonna succeed because how much effort I'm gonna be putting into this, how much effort I'm putting into this. You know, all the thoughts that I'm. So you can't go up, 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 fail, and then go back down, and then up, and then fail, and then go back down. Because it's a loop. It's a loop. You have to keep going, no matter what. You have to keep going. And then there's the thing about rest. Rest is
as a lonely person. You're not lonely. Loneliness is a feeling that you occasionally have, and you may have it a lot, but that does not mean you are a lonely person. No, instead, think of yourself as a disconnected person.
you know, even this, don't even think of yourself as a disconnected person. Like I said, I feel like that's bad. Don't think of yourself as anything negative, right? Now, obviously, don't be delusional. Be like, oh, I'm a person ever. Think of yourself as the person in the end. Think of yourself as that person because no, your confidence should already be up because you're like, oh, I'm already this successful person who's going after what he believes in, right? Now, don't start because a lot of people then when they meet other people, you have to presume yourself in this person, right? You are this person. It's not a character, it's you, right? So everything you do has to align with that because once you start doing that, it's going to fall into habits, right? Remember what I said earlier about thinking about everything you're doing? Eventually, it'll just become habit. You'll automatically start doing the best things because that's who you are. Because that's who the person that you're trying to be is. So that's who you are. You know what I'm saying?
aren't connecting with people around you, with things around you, therefore you are feeling lonely. What we're doing here is we're shifting your identity. If you view yourself as someone that's just disconnected, guess what? You can fix that. You can take steps to become a more connected person. Just the other day, my son, he took our 2-year-old daughter to the Children's Museum. He's 19 years old. But I think it's safe to say that he never felt lonely when he was with her because he was with another person. He was forming that connection.
And again, you can still be lonely even if you're with other people. Even if you're talking, you can still feel lonely. So it's just like
this is a human being that, yes, hasn't fully formed cognitively, but think about that because you could have a connection with animals and that would therefore make you less lonely. You can have a connection with nature. The point is you can connect to anything and you are no longer identifying yourself destined to be a lonely person. No, you're just disconnected and you can take an action to reconnect. So you've changed your identity. All of a sudden you're taking steps in the process. And the outcome is all of a sudden you are going to feel more connected. You are going to feel less lonely. And that is the result that we're shooting for. Gentlemen.
so that's pretty much the end of that video. It was a pretty insightful video, but one thing I really want to talk about is loneliness is only a symptom of something else. Now, a lot of people feel lonely because let's say goals, right? I know a lot of people that feel like that they can't achieve their goals and because of that they feel lonely because they see other people succeeding and they're like, I can't be with these people. I'm not succeeding right now. I need to but it's not like a thing that they're actually thinking of. It's a subconscious thing, right? They see these people that are succeeding, so they automatically associate themselves as this group over here, even though the people who are succeeding had to fail at first. You know what I'm saying? Everyone who has succeeded has failed at some point. That's just how that works. It goes hand in hand. You have to fail to succeed. So my top theme for you to not be lonely is literally just to move. Stop being in this same spot that you're in right now. You can change that. No one else can. If you want to keep being in the spot, okay, that's you, but don't be complaining about being lonely and everything else when you're not taking the steps that you need to be, not lonely. I mean, it's really as simple as like going to the store, getting a cup of coffee, and talking to the barista. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people that are socially anxious claim to be lonely. You're not lonely. You're just awkward. Well, you're lonely because you're awkward. I phrased that wrong. You're lonely because you're awkward. Man, the only way to solve that awkwardness is by going out and talking to more people so you're not awkward anymore. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you need to be okay with yourself. This is my number one thing. You need to be okay with yourself. You need to love yourself and you need to be okay. Because no matter who you're around, no matter what you do, you can still feel lonely at the end of the day. You'll never feel lonely if you're your own best friend, right? I see a lot of people hating on themselves subconsciously. I see a lot of that. And the most important thing is that you treat yourself to the utmost respect because you're you. You know what you've been through. No one else can relate to you one for one like you can to yourself. So you are the most important person in your own world right now. You know what I'm saying? You need to treat yourself the absolute pinnacle of how you would treat anyone else. No one else matters right now. It's all you. It's all you. You need to improve yourself about taking yourself. Boom. Once you do that, it's like no one else really matters, right? That's the point I'm at right now because, like I said, I'm by myself 98% of the time. You know what I'm saying? Even though I live with my parents, it's like they're usually out of the house or I'm out of the house. I'm chilling by myself. I'm doing things by myself. I'm enjoying my own company. I'm not lonely. I might be isolated, but I'm not lonely at all. I don't want no. Obviously, I hang out with my homeboys every now and then. I text now and then. I have a girlfriend, but it's like most of the time I'm alone, and I have no problem with that. I enjoy my own presence. I feel like this was a nice video. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. But make sure to like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. You know what I'm saying? Stick around for the ride. Yeah, nice video. I might watch more. Even if I don't necessarily agree with everything he's saying, I do feel like more positive. All right, man. See y'all later. Take it easy. Peace.